Climate activists in Italy have staged a so-called eco-vandalism by using a dye to turn Venice's Grand Canal green in protest at what they said was a lack of progress at the COP28 climate summit in Dubai.
두바이에서 열린 유엔 기후변화협약 당사국 총회 COP28에서 실질적 진전이 이뤄지고 있지 않다며 이탈리아 기후 운동가들이 염료를 이용해 베네치아 대운하물을 녹색으로 물들이는 이른바 eco-vandalism 시위를 펼쳤습니다. Tell us more, Ray.
Well, these are protesters from the Extinction Rebellion group. We've talked about them. They're the
yes, we have.
they're the geniuses that go and try to vandalize works of art to
Well, they're
protest.
eye-catching, I'll tell you that. I mean,
they make headlines.
They make headlines.
They make headlines. I don't know if they do much else, but they make headlines. In this case, they hung a banner from the Rialto Bridge.
Yeah.
As well, they also had like climbing ropes.
Yes.
So people were hanging, and the banner said, "While the government talks, we are hanging by a thread." So the phrase to hang by a thread means so if something or someone is hanging by a thread, they're in a very precarious situation, very risky.
You could fall at any point.
You could fall at any point, or you could just sort of, your life could collapse at any point. You might not even survive, right?
Yeah.
Someone who's very, very sick. Maybe last week it felt like you were just hanging on by a thread
I
at some
felt like
point,
that.
right?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So that's the messaging that they were trying to use here.
Well, the water turned green, as you mentioned earlier on, sort of a fluorescent, very bright green.
Yeah, they said they used a fluorescein dye that was harmless.
Okay.
is what they said.
All right. Let's have a look at the main expressions. So-called eco-vandalism.
So-called. So when you use this phrase to mean that you don't really believe what you're saying.
But
so
that's what they say.
Yeah, you'll hear a lot like, "Oh, well, the so-called experts were all wrong." So when you say so-called experts, you're saying you don't really believe that they are experts.
그래요. 그러니까 말하고 있는 사람은 동의할 수 없는 상황일 때 그렇게 말한다. 소위 뭐뭐뭐다. 이른바 뭐뭐뭐라고 한다. 라는 것을 강조하기 위해서 so-called 뭐뭐뭐라고 하고요. 그 다음에 이제 quotation 마크 안에다가 씁니다. so-called eco-vandalism. 환경을 위한 공공기물 파손이라고 소위 그들은 그렇게 부른다. 이런 거죠. 그래서 우리가 이제 토끼 표시라고 하기도 하고 우리말로 요거 quotation mark 같이 씁니다. So-called. 자, 그 다음에는 dye, not D-I-E, D-Y-E.
D-Y-E. So this is a dye is a substance that's used to change the color of something. So I'm sure many of our listeners have dyed their hair at some point. Like
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
when I was in high school, that was really cool to do. To dye your hair. It was the 90s where, frosted tips were a cool thing.
So white then?
Blonde, yeah.
Oh, blonde.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right. And then you let your roots grow out and
Yeah.
you just have frosted tips. Yeah. Those were cool at one time. You see like my grade 11 pictures, pretty funny.
That should be interesting if we can get a hold of that.
I'll see if it's in my phone. I'll show you.
자, 머리 염색하는 거를 이제 dyeing 한다라고 해요. dye가 염료거든요. 그리고 이제 참고로 염색 얘기가 나왔으니까 뿌리 염색할 때는 get your roots done. 이렇게 표현해도 됩니다. 그냥 뿌리를 하다 이건데 이제 뿌리 염색한다라는 걸로 통용이 되거든요. All right, well, here's the expression again. Not the expression, sorry. The headline. Climate activists in Italy have staged a so-called eco-vandalism by using a dye to turn Venice's Grand Canal green in protest at what they said was a lack of progress at the COP28 climate summit in Dubai.